Welcome to the Swine Health Black Belt Podcast, the latest swine health research digested for you. My name is Dr. Clayton Johnson. I'm your host for today's episode. And joining me is a special guest, Dr. Dustin Boler. Dr. Boler is on our team here at Carthage. He's the Director of Research for Carthage Innovative Swine Solutions, and here today to talk to us about what it takes to operate a research program. Dustin, thanks for coming on. Welcome to the podcast here. Why don't you give the audience an introduction?
Morning, Clayton. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. A lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity anytime we have to talk research and to talk about pigs. As you said, I'm the Director of Research with Carthage, relatively new to the position. I started last summer. I'm not the newest member of the research team anymore. But at Carthage Innovative Swine Solutions, as you said, we are a research organization, a certified research organization, where we conduct research for hire for folks in the swine industry that has a question. And if they need help answering that question, that's where we come in, that we do our best to try to design a research trial around that objective. We try to collect data and get those data summarized to help them answer that question. Within our group, it takes a full team, and we've been working diligently over the past 6 months to put that team together, where we are comprised of research scientists, veterinarians, nutritionists, geneticists, the whole gamut that you can imagine that spans the spectrum of swine production, such that regardless of where your organization fits into the swine industry, that we can try to do our best to help you get an answer to your question, or at least get you the resources to get the answer to that question. We've got a full team of research associates that are actually in our facilities that are the boots on the ground, actually executing those research trials, raising those pigs as they would be raised in a commercial setting, collecting those data and getting them off to the scientists for summarization.
You talked, Dustin, about being in the barn. What sort of barns does your team use for research, and what's kind of common out there in the industry in terms of a research barn setup?
And it's one of the kind of the unique things about Carthage is that, as I mentioned, we are a research organization that conducts research for hire, but we do that in a commercial setting, and so our research trials are executed in commercial facilities and commercial barns, just as normal pigs are raised. And what that does is it really provides credibility to the research and to the data that we generate, and that you can feel confident in picking up those results and dropping them into a commercial facility. And within reason, they should be applicable to about any situation, because that's how they were generated. Specifically, what we have access to is we've got two 5,000 head finishers. That again, automated feed systems, large pens. We've got access to pen scales where we can collect all the data from growth rates, feed efficiency, feed intake, health, all of those type of things that you would see in a wean to finish facility. But what really makes us even more unique than that, I think, is that we do have a BSL-2 infectious disease research facility for nursery pigs, where we can really do some cutting-edge animal health type studies. We all know that infectious diseases can really cause problems for welfare and certainly for profitability. We have the ability to do some research on those type of pigs. And then the one thing that is certainly I can't take credit for, it's the folks that have come before me, but what really the stamp of excellence from a research standpoint is our sow research. And so we have access to a 6,000 head sow facility, and then we are in the process of bringing on another sow facility such that we can do anywhere that research that involves anything throughout sow production. So whether that's gilt development, whether that's gestation, whether that's lactation, whether that's day one pig care, whether that's piglet care or a trial from essentially from farrowing to weaning, we have the ability to do that. Again, it's a research facility laid right inside of a working commercial facility, again with the idea to provide credibility to those data, that you can pick up the results and the conclusions that we're trying to collect and lay those into someone else's application, and within some reason and only a fair amount of extrapolation can assume that the results should be credible.
So you talked about these research assets are commercial pig barns that have maybe some special feeding equipment, some special scales, right? The ability to create measurements that we need in good research, but they're commercial facilities. So does your team operate the commercial facility? Are your research associates the farm workers? They do both the research and the production, or is there kind of some differentiation at those farms between these folks do the research job and these folks over here, they do the normal production in that commercial unit's job?
That's a great question, and unfortunately the answer is it depends. We're all battling labor constraints in the swine industry. Everybody is dealing with the same challenges. But this is it's a commercial working facility, and so there is a production staff that are raising those animals that are not on trial, and so they have responsibility for the day-to-day pig care of the piglets and the sows that are not on research trial. But those piglets and sows could be recruited into a trial. We have a completely unique research team that if we put a particular set of animals on study, that they are the responsible for those animals. And so that does involve daily pig care. It does involve daily chores. It does involve health. Of course, that's always done in the presence of a veterinarian. All of our research follows an IACUC approval. It all has, all those research trials are conducted under veterinarian care. So we do all of these type of things together and harmoniously within production, but when it actually comes to the execution of the research trial, we are responsible for everything to do with those animals, daily health, chores, as well as the research and data collection.
Is there ever conflict there, Dustin, where maybe the goals aren't perfectly aligned, where maybe your research study is causing some undue pain on the production staff, or vice versa? What the production staff wants to do isn't kosher with your research program, and then if there is those conflict every once in a while, what do you do about it? How do you handle it?
Yeah, so absolutely. Of course, there's conflict. Anytime you're trying to generate answers in the unknown, there's going to be outcomes that are unknown. And sometimes those outcomes, if we're testing, let's say management practice 1 versus management practice 2, and it just so happens that we're wrong, whatever that may be, and in fact we do reduce growth rate, or we do something to number of pigs weaned, or something that's detrimental to productivity. That absolutely happens, but because we're a research facility, we try to take that into account. At the end of the day, somebody has to, there is an economic cost associated with that, but that's part of being a certified research organization. And that's, again, where the nice part is that because we're separate from production, not to say that we're going to adopt those practices because that would be silly, but we do have the afforded opportunity to make some of those decisions and to evaluate some of those types of questions, knowing that it's certainly exploratory and it's in those cases is not going to be adopted. Then we communicate that downstream to actual production, and if it's a management technique, we disseminate that information within the Carthage system that says, this is probably something we don't want to adopt system-wide.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dustin. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your perspective on what it takes to run a research program here in the modern swine industry. To our audience, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to the Swine Health Black Belt podcast. If you haven't checked out our website, please do go visit us at swinehealthblackbelt.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on next week's episode. Thank you very much, Dustin, for coming on. To our audience, thank you for joining us. And please, everybody, have a great rest of your week. Hey, everyone. We're always searching for the latest and greatest research to share each week. If you have a swine health-related research trial and would like to come on the show to talk about it with me and share it with our audience, feel free to send an email to healthblackbelt@swineit.com, and we would love to take a look at your research.